Welcome to another week of considering the characteristics that of the church when we get it right. And the church, and our working definition, is that a human endeavor trying to organize and ordain the followers of Jesus, and we get it right when we're aligned with agape love. Karen and I visited literally hundreds of local congregations over a 16-year span. Sometimes the visits were expected. Others were unannounced, and occasionally our visits were unknown. No one there knew who we were in terms of the office I held as bishop in the church. One of my early responses during these visits was a private ranking that I made to myself, 1 to 10, in whether or not the gathering of the faithful had the characteristic of joy. Often, the ranking was low on the scale. Often, the pastor and laity were so somber and serious that any inkling of joy was overcome by the seriousness of the occasion. Time and time again, this was experienced upon the celebration of Holy Communion. Even though the liturgy includes the joyous words, "This is for the forgiveness of your sins," a pretty good source of joy, wouldn't you say? The forgiveness of your sins. The serious and somber nature of the experience suffocated, took the air right out of any semblance of joy. Sometimes the absence of joy was symbolized by handshakes only among friends. Sometimes atmospheres were dominated by silence and responses of irritation when something didn't go right, or when a child cried or was restless. Too often, and there was no joy. On the other hand, the ranking of 9 or 10 on the scale of joy was immediately apparent, even in the context of real sadness. Some of our visits were for memorial services and funerals. On one such occasion, we were on the lawn of a church property greeting a friend who came almost 1,000 miles to the memorial service. She was a person of faith who traveled in grief and sadness upon the sudden and unexpected death of her dear friend. After the service, she greeted us and made this statement. "This was new for me today. I cannot get over what I experienced today. We were all sad. We were crying. We were unhappy today because of our friend's death. But as sad as we were, this place was jumping with joy." All of a sudden, I had to have a smile on my face because everyone else had a smile on their face. Our hearts were literally hugging each other. I've never experienced this before in my journey of faith. Attending church faithfully, I didn't know the joy and sadness belonged together. The preachers had smiles on their faces instead of the expressions of sadness that I expected. Everyone sang like I've never heard people sing before. This place has got something I've always yearned for but never experienced. I'm so glad I was here, a practicing Christian over 60 years of age. You see, this church, it got it right. Even at a memorial service, there was a characteristic of joy. I've reflected on that statement many times because her witness unlocked in my life the understanding that whether we are sad or happy, that's our response to external events in life. There's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with being happy. These are natural human emotional responses to life. But joy is different. It's not from the outside in. Joy is from the inside out. Uh, you see, joy is as compatible with sadness as it is compatible with happiness. Let me say that again. Joy is as compatible with sadness as it is with happiness. Sadness and unhappiness are normal and natural emotions in life. Joy, however, is not an emotion. It's an attitude, it's a state of mind that prevails in any life situation. Joy is a way of life. And the church gets it right when it has the characteristic of joy in every situation. You see, joy is that attitude shared by the faithful and the prisoners in Germany 80 years ago during the Holocaust. Survivors of the Holocaust imprisonment share story after story of the expressions of joy by the faithful. We see it today. In 2023, watch television and you see it in the faces of the citizens of Ukraine experiencing the destruction and devastation in their homeland, once so serene, once so beautiful. Story after story of how, in a time of stark sadness, the attitude of joy prevails. You see, joy is aligned with agape love. For agape love, it's an attitude, not an emotion, a state of mind which is coexistent with any human emotion. That empathetic and sacrificial love can be the way to live in the life of the individual, but also in the life of the congregation. It expresses a life of joy, immediately apparent to the visitor who might just drop in. You see, joy is founded in faith, and joy is never out of place. It's not a happy emotion that comes and goes. That's the nature of emotions. They come and go. But the attitude of joy is sustaining, ever present as an appropriate way of life. You know, one of the great messages of the Christmas season is joy to the world, not happiness to the world, but joy. Happiness is the emotion in response to the gift of Jesus to the world. That makes us happy. Happy is the emotion of the exchange of gifts with each other. That makes us happy, and that's wonderful. But joy is an attitude, a way of life, that whether or not we are sad or happy, We of faith have the attitude of joy, cherishing and experiencing our relationships with each other and our relationship with God. The source of agape love revealed in Jesus, whose life brought joy to the world. Listen to some of the words of that great hymn, Joy to the World. Jesus rules the world with truth and grace and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness and wonders of his love. Constantly, in every time and place, joy to the world. Not a hymn for a season, but a hymn for every day of our lives, every minute of our existence. Joy to the world. And when the church has a characteristic of joy, it's my experience that the church gets it right. Thank you for being a part of our journey. And as you think about our journey and conversations about it, here are some questions to begin your journey. What are your experiences of seriousness, suffocating joy in the life of the church? What are your personal experiences of joy being compatible with the emotions of sadness and unhappiness? And finally, what are your stories of churches who get it right as they are dominated by a way of life defined by joy? Thank you for being a part of our journey.